Okay, everybody, I'm back with part 2 of my updated review on Revolutionary Utena the movie, or as it says up there, Utena the movie. Now, like I said at the end, car wash pops out of nowhere. Now, you ask yourself, with Utena trying to take Anthony with her to the outside world, even though Anthony at first is reluctant because of what she's heard about the dangers of the outside world, you ask yourself, why does a car wash suddenly pop up and envelop and basically catch and envelop Utena? And Utena is trying to tell her, come on, let's go. But she ends up letting go, and the thing just sucks Utena in. Yeah, that's right. The car wash sucks Utena in, and Utena leaves the ring behind in Anthony's hand. Utena's rose signet ring, if you will, falls into Anthony's hand. Now you wonder why this is happening. Why is this happening? Well, like I said in part 1, the weirdness factor is taken up a level. That's right, it's taken up a level from the butterflies that I mentioned in part 1. Because remember what I said about thinking of how Micah's sister's name was on a license plate in a garage, on a car? Here's why. Apparently, in this version of Utena, people have the ability, when they need to do it, to enter the same car wash, I guess, or a different kind of car wash, or whatever, however it's done. They have the ability to enter something like this, like a car wash, and get themselves turned into a car. Either it's against the will, or whether they want to do it. But it's true. They end up getting themselves turned into a car. Now here's the thing. Here's the catch. The color of the car all depends on how that person feels. If the car is black in color, that basically means they don't want to change. They don't want to go with the flow and possibly move on and get out of that world. They want things to stay the same. Well, again, this is where the weirdness factor comes in, because Utena, ends up becoming a car herself. But unlike Kuzo, I can't even pronounce her name, but Kuzo, in Shirori, later on, that's right, Shirori, she's not black. Her color is not a dark color. Her color is the color of her hair. Yeah, you heard me right. Her hair ends up being the color of her car form, of the car she becomes. That's right, Utena enters the car wash and comes out the other side, or comes back out as a car. It looks like a race car or something like that. But this, believe it or not, is only the first of two of her car forms. That's why she's got another form as a car that we see later on. But basically, here's the deal. Many people, like I said, unless you're an anime and animation buff, you may not understand why this is happening. But if you are an anime and animation buff, you kind of get the idea of why this is indeed happening. And why it's happening, from what I have read and understood, is it's a symbolism of washing away the past and moving on towards the future. That's from what I understand. That's the best I know I've heard. Now, according to the director, in his commentary, he says basically that he says something almost similar but different. Basically, he said when he came up with this scene, he wanted to kind of reverse the roles of Anthony and Utena right there. That's right, Anthony and Utena's roles reversed as soon as Utena entered the car wash and came out of the car. Because the rose signet ring that was left in Anthony's hand got turned into a key. Now, you say to yourself, well, what does that mean? Well, it means that Utena, according to the director, now is a car. Not only has she become a car, but now Utena is asleep as a car. And the only way she can wake up or move, if you will, to attain the goal of going to the outside world, is for Anthony to stick the key into her ignition, turn her on, if you will, and drive her to the outside world. Now, if she doesn't do this, here's what happens, and they visually show this. If she doesn't do this, Utena as a car will start to rust and disintegrate. I think they had the brother of Anthony say something like, I can't even think of it right now. Something like basically the car returns to rust without a driver. It can't come to life. It just doesn't move. Turns to rust. Something like that. But anyway, Anthony has to use put the key in the ignition to turn Utena on, if you will, and drive her off to the outside world, which she does, and that kind of lifts the rust that is coating Utena as a car. Now again, if you're not now again, the reason the director went in this direction, and you can basically find this out in his commentary, as well as look it up online, and as well as on my channel, where you can find it in the Utena car transformation scene with commentary. That's the title, I think, of the video. Basically, the director said he wanted to kind of reverse the roles to where now it was up to Anthony to save Utena. Basically, like I said, when I mentioned he kind of put Utena to sleep when she became a car, and the only way she could be turned on and woken up is with the key in her ignition, basically sort of the role of Sleeping Beauty. In other words, Anthony becomes the prince that awakes the princess with a kiss. But instead, it's Anthony putting the car in Utena's ignition to wake her up and move on. Now, a lot of people, like I said, if you're not a real anime buff or animation buff, will look at this and say, why? In fact, I was watching a review, courtesy of Blimp TV, from Jesus Atuki, Otuka. You guys kind of know who she is, who does some anime stuff, does some anime reviews. And she had somebody, I can't think of his name right now, help her review this. And the first expression out of her partner when they did this review and this scene came up, basically the first question out of his mind is, why the fuck is she a car? Basically, again, it goes back to the symbolism of washing yourself clean and moving forward and driving forward to the future. Now, here's the thing. She's not, like I said, she's not the only one to turn into a car, because apparently, as we saw earlier in the film, or in the middle of the film, Mika, I can't even think of his name, so forgive me, basically turned his sister into a car, I believe against her will, because either you could do it against her will, which means why she's not a bright color, and the same reason why Shinzo turned herself, Shirizo, I pronounced her name before, Shiro turns herself into a car, for selfish reasons. And if it's not for a selfish reason, then your car color is not dark, it's bright. And that's why Utena was a pink, her pink hair had become the color of the car she became, and why another friend her and Anthony made in the film, called Wakabia, I can't even pronounce her name, Wakabia, turned into a green colored Jeep. That's right, Wakabia turns herself into a Jeep, and her friends go and help Anthony and Utena to achieve their goal. So that's pretty cool. Now, here's the thing. Again, some people would look at this and wonder why. Why would he go in this? Well, apparently, he also said, in not a commentary, which if you do watch the DVD, if you buy the DVD or you rent it, you can listen to the commentaries in Japanese, but you can get subtitles to understand it in English. But basically, he also said in a non-commentary, sort of like an interview, he wanted to shock people. He wanted to try something different. In fact, he wanted to see what people's reaction, I guess, would be if he went in this direction. I guess that's what it was. I'm not really sure. Can't quote me on that, but that's from what I understand, from what I've heard and read. But apparently, he just wanted to do something different. Now, Now here's the thing. Here's the thing. I said she had another form as a car. She does. Let me check my time here. Okay, I got about 5 minutes, or 4 minutes and 40 seconds. But basically, I said she had two forms as a car. Well, basically, in her first form as a car, it gets damaged a lot thanks to the swarm of cars, the nameless, mindless cars, with the exception of Shuro, trying to stop her stop them from going to the outside world. Well, she's damaged. Well, it's like as soon as they get under the academy, which it too ends up being a vehicle, believe it or not, it does. Anthony is determined not to be stopped. So she basically pulls on a lever or something like that, and this big red sheet comes out of Utena's car form, envelops them, and Utena turns into her. And basically, by this coat going over her, she gets another new form as a car. But this form doesn't last very long as they get towards the end, because it's getting crushed to pieces thanks to the dead prince, the dead brother of Anthony. But it's thanks to both of them wanting to revolutionize the world that they're able to overcome Anthony's dead brother, and Utena is returned to normal. And that's about it. But overall, it's a very, like I said, overall, Utena the movie, or Revolutionary Good Utena the movie, or The Adolescence of Utena, it's a very unique anime, beautifully animated. There's no doubt about it, you cannot deny that. But it does have a few WTF moments, like I said, with the butterflies, and most importantly with the car, with Utena and Wakabi and Shiruro, and even earlier Kazuha, turning into cars. So it does have a few WTF moments. There are some things that people, when they reviewed it as well, have said that didn't really have no place in the film, like the references to the cartoon, to the anime series, which really didn't need to be made reference to, seeing as though this had nothing to do with it. Especially, and one of the references they made was like Nani being turned into a cow. They didn't need to reference that because it had nothing to do with the movie. In a way, my only assumption as to why they did that was to kind of reference the fact that, you know, this is kind of based off the anime. This is how the movie came about, because of the anime. That's the only thing I can think of. But apparently, in the end, Anthony and Utena do end up going to the outside world, and I guess the friends that helped them out joined them later. We don't really know. And all the students, the shadow girls that were there, all of them ended up being nothing more than hay-strawed dummies. That's right. Those black shadow girls were nothing more than hay-straw dummies. And one of them had Utena's name on tag, and the other had Anthony's name on the tag. So, go figure. But again, very unique anime. You definitely got to give it a watch. I know, again, if you're not an animation or anime buff, you might still, even after I've told you this, and anybody else's review you have seen has told you this, you may still watch this and wonder why the fuck did they use these kind of visuals or go in these directions. So, if you want to know about that, if you want to know why the fuck they did this, just like I say, turn on the Japanese commentary, put on the English subtitle translation, and you'll get an idea of exactly why they did it. So, but to me, overall, I thought it was an okay anime. I thought it was like I said, beautifully animated. It's got a unique story and plot to it. Visually, it's kind of like, you know, WTF in some areas, but it's very, very good overall. So it's probably one of the most beautiful animes I've seen in a while. So, my recommendation: check it out. Again, you may have a WTF moment every now and then throughout the film, but still, give it a look-see. You might enjoy it. So that's all I'm going to say. I thank you for watching this two-part updated review of Utena the movie, the Revolutionary Girl Utena movie, Adolescence of Utena, and I will talk to you all later. I've got to go type up my mom's homework.